Now, this is a story you may have heard before. You may also already know some of the details, but unlike most people, I was there when it happened. I was there when they tried to steal The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Prior to the release of Breath of the Wild for the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, hype for the game was through the roof. Nintendo's marketing was very selective, and honestly, up until E3 of 2016, not a lot was known about the game. So when Nintendo announced they would have a playable demo at that year's E3, people were excited to get their hands on the game, read about first-hand experiences, and overall, just see more of what was in store for us. However, one guy, well, he had another idea. Now, before we get too into this story, if you could take a second to help me out and subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 100,000 before Tears of the Kingdom releases, and I plan to cover that game, as well as make tons of Zelda content in the future, so if this is something you would like, subscribing is a huge way to help, and I'd really appreciate the support. Thanks so much. Back in 2016, I was part of the Nintendo Brand Ambassador program, and as such, I was actually invited to attend E3. This would have been my first E3, and this was long before anyone could just buy a ticket and go. No, you had to be part of a gaming organization or a press outlet to gain entry. But thanks to my contacts with Nintendo, I was able to get in, and Nintendo's booth was massive. The entire thing was themed to Breath of the Wild. They had dozens of Wii U set up, all running the Breath of the Wild demo. Lines wrapped around the entire convention hall. I ended up waiting hours every day just to play the demo. It was awesome. But while I was playing the demo, there was something sinister going on behind the scenes. I actually caught whispers of it while it was happening, but I wasn't sure if it was true or just an elaborate hoax. I heard word that someone was trying to steal the demo for Breath of the Wild. I mean, that's crazy, right? E3 is only over the course of 3 days, and you had to wait hours to even get into the booth to play the demo, and even then, Nintendo had a ton of staff watching you play, not to mention all the industry professionals around. Surely there is no way someone could steal the demo under those circumstances, right? Or maybe they could. The craziest thing is, this wouldn't have even been the first time Nintendo had a Zelda demo stolen from them. Famously, the demo for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword leaked online about a week or so before its official release. I remember that, and I even played it at one point. It was surreal being able to play a real E3 demo. Now imagine the insanity that would have ensued if you could do that with Breath of the Wild before its official release. A lot of you may not know this, but Wii U hacking and modding, it's pretty easy. In fact, I believe the method they used back in 2016 still works today. You essentially just need to navigate to a web page or a specific IP address that's hosting an exploit, click a button on the Wii U, and it reloads into an exploited state, which allows anyone to execute code on the system. You could run homebrew apps to change the region of your console, load in game mods, or, what's more important for this story, dump games wirelessly to a laptop while you play. So, it's day one of E3. The doors open and the lines instantly fill up for the Nintendo booth. I was there along with a few of my friends, and so was our mysterious 17-year-old hacker who was planning his heist. The show floor is only open each day for roughly 8 hours, so with less than 24 hours in total across the 3 days, and the fact that you had maybe one shot to play the demo per day given the length of the line, time was of the essence. Unfortunately, day one did not go as planned. Upon arriving in the booth, the hacker realized that Nintendo wasn't using normal retail Wii U's. Instead, they were using development systems, or dev kits. These special Wii U's are used internally to debug, program, and develop games for the Wii U. Although they aren't too different from retail units, they differ enough that homebrew applications created for retail systems don't work correctly on them, and that was a huge problem. So although day one was a bust for our hacker, the information gained was still vital to pulling this off. And thankfully, the Wii U hacking scene was mature enough to understand the differences between DevKit Wii U's and normal Wii U's, and in fact, DevKit software had made its way into the wild before. So the unnamed hacker and his crew were able to rewrite the programs needed to pull off this crazy heist the night of the first day. Which of course brings us right into day two. Now much like day one, the lines filled up instantly. Of course, I was one of those people running to the line first thing as soon as the doors opened, and I'm sure our hacker friend made his way there shortly afterward. At this point, it's worth reminding you, in order to exploit a Wii U, the Wii U itself needs to have access to a network. That could be the internet at large, but it could also connect to an intranet. Basically, as long as it could reach the IP of an exploit server, it'd be fine. Now, the Wii U's in the Nintendo booth, they weren't connected to the internet at all. That would have been a huge problem, but because it's a dev unit, there's hidden configuration menus, and since that was documented online, the hacker was familiar enough already with dev systems to access this menu and connect it to the convention center's Wi-Fi. Afterwards, he launched the exploit and got the tools needed to dump the game up and running. For all intents and purposes, he was in. He had done it. How he did this without anyone noticing, I have no idea. Even if his crew was playing defense, it was risky. But he somehow managed to pull it off and successfully copied over the demo. Or so they thought. After looking at the data they copied, the hacker realized it wasn't the demo for Breath of the Wild. The differences in a retail unit and a dev kit once again thwarted the attack. Some reprogramming needed to be done ASAP in order to pull this off. Now at this point, the hacker had one day of E3 left to get this done. So, they reached out to NWPlayer123. That name might sound familiar to anyone who plays Splatoon. They were a pretty well-known hacker and leaker on Twitter. Oh, and did I mention that our anonymous hacker was actually live tweeting his plans the entire time? Yeah, that might not have been the smartest thing to do. Anyway, with the help of NWPlayer, the software was rewritten again to hopefully grab the correct files this time. Problem is, they only had one more chance at getting this demo before E3 of 2016 closed its doors. And so, that brings us to day 3. The final day of E3 2016. One last chance. The doors to the convention hall open. Myself and others, including the hacker, rushed to the booth, and just moments after the doors had opened, Nintendo closed the line. Yeah, this started happening on day 2. The line got to be so out of control, Nintendo had to start setting hard limits on how many people could line up because of how many people wanted to play the game. I was lucky enough to make it into the queue before the line closed for the day, but unfortunately the hacker, well, he just didn't make it in time. And just like that, the attempts to steal the demo of Breath of the Wild was over. Mission failed. I wish this story had a better ending, but the hype for Breath of the Wild ended up being the same thing that probably prevented it from leaking. It's weird to think that I was there while this was all going on. I was aware of the plot, but unsure if it was true or not. However, it seems that the rumors were true and someone really was trying to steal Breath of the Wild. A ballsy move for sure, and if they had succeeded, it would have been legendary. But sadly, this is now just a story that will live on as an urban legend of sorts. I'm a big fan of game preservation, and I would have loved the chance to explore the demo more. From my brief experience with it, it seemed pretty darn close to the final release of the game. I can't help but wonder, if the hacker succeeded, would the demo have contained more of the game? There have been cases where demos of games contain the full version of the game just with a hard stop timer programmed in to reset after a given amount of time. If players remove that timer with mods or a game shark code, the game would just continue as normal, all the way to the end credits. It's impossible to know if the Breath of the Wild demo was that involved, but you have to remember, Nintendo did use dev kits, and the game was running digitally. It might be possible that the demo did actually include more than just the Great Plateau. Sadly, we'll never really know. Instead, this story goes down in history as the time someone almost stole The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Skyward Sword still remains the only Zelda game to have its demo stolen, but who knows what will happen in the future. The Legend of Zelda is no stranger to leaks, and if you'd like a video talking about the history of Zelda leaks, I'd be more than happy to present the research that I've done so far on that topic. Otherwise, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, a like rating would be greatly appreciated, and if you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. Once again though guys, my name is Matt, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.